She's old enough, because if she can say Tyrannosaurus Rex, she can say glossopharyngeal. We big people get stuck on it, but the kids pick it up just like that.
Yes.
Welcome to the Brain Lady Podcast with your host, Karen D. Wood, the resident brainiac. Get ready for a mind-expanding journey as we unravel the mysteries of the brain from Notes from the Couch. Join us as we delve into the complexities and wonders of this enigmatic supercomputer. Fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare to have your synapses fired up. Welcome to the captivating world of the Brain Lady Podcast.
And welcome back to the Brain Lady Podcast, Notes from the Couch. I'm in the podcast lair with Villanueva today, and we are...
Hello.
Oh, I thought I did something wrong.
Oh, no. Said hello. I was saying hello. You said my name. So I was like, hello.
That is my amygdala a little jumpy right now. That's
welcome
a good
back.
Example of hypervigilance of the amygdala. So welcome back. We have done 20 episodes now, which is pretty exciting for us as it came from a dream just a year and a half ago. And I thought it would be good if we just reviewed. We have hand clapping. That is too funny. I thought it would be good if we could review what we've done in those 20 sessions to talk about the fundamentals of what clear thinking actually means. It's a modality we use in life coaching, in therapy. You can do it one-on-one with your friends. It's just, how do we invite people to learn about their brains and what trauma does over time, and how to get balanced back with your behavior and your body and your belief in you and humanity, you and God, all the things you believe in. How can we help you get back to balance? So that's why we started the podcast. So the first one we did was pretty interesting. It was about Super Balls. And we talked about the history of the Super Balls, and Phil is old enough to remember that.
Old enough because I was here for the episode? Or old? Yep, I remember that.
I think you're old enough for that.
Yeah, I'm old enough for a lot of different things. That was really great. With Jermaine, too.
And Jermaine was there, and he remembered the Super Balls. So the idea was that I had a client come in, 30-year-old young man. We just call him H. And he was agoraphobic, which means he had trouble leaving the house. And he was in complete fear and panic because he had some siblings that were going to be moving out. So when I tried to help him break things down, let's just take things one at a time, he said, "You don't understand. I have super balls in my head, and they just bounce over all the time." He said, "I have a room full of them," which I thought was a great description of when anxiety just takes off. It just zooms and zooms. So that was episode 1, if you want to go back and learn about a whole bunch of fun facts about the Super Ball. But basically what we helped him do is learn how to put things in boxes instead, to isolate things. So Phil's going to find a box worksheet as a review so that we can talk about our 4 steps of outcome-based thinking, which is just one of the fundamental cores of what we do. So on the screen, for those of you listening to audio, is a worksheet where we have just 4 boxes. So if you think of like the Super Balls, another client said it's like a file drawer has opened and the files are just flying everywhere and she can't grab them. If you can take things one at a time and put it in a box, even before we figure out what we're going to do with all the topics. So for him, he was able to put his sister was moving. That meant his beloved dogs were moving. And his brother was going to get married. So once we started isolating those things, we call those tension boxes. Then we were able to, on the screen, our 4-step thinking sequence, which we talk about all the time, our outcome-based thinking steps. So we had him look at the tension, since he's got his tension separated now. Okay, just for your sister moving out, where do you notice that tension on yourself? And he was able to identify, he just kind of felt this shutdown. Okay, that's a freeze. We talk a lot about all the F's. And then step number 2 is, what's the outcome of the picture without acceptance? So just back up on the concepts there for review's sake. If we think in pictures, it's so much faster than words, up to 60,000 times faster than words. Advertisers know this. That's why they just do pictures so quickly and usually very few words because the mind can think quicker in pictures. So to help H think, okay, you've got the box of your sister moving. What's the outcome of the picture if you stay this anxious about that? With some new acceptance. And acceptance is a very strange concept. We did a reel on acceptance, and it was our highest viewed reel at 2,000 people, because just this idea of how do I accept things. And it's just the reminder, acceptance doesn't mean it's right or true, lovely or kind. For those of you of faith, it is none of the Philippians 4:8 things, but it is. If we can view acceptance as a fact, simply as a fact, then our brain part, which we'll talk about in a minute, will believe you and quit pumping you with chemicals. And then H could feel, okay, then he was ready for step number 3. What's the outcome of the picture with acceptance? So steps 2 and 3 are very much like each other. With acceptance, without acceptance on the screen. And with acceptance means I want to look at the facts, stay in my best state of mind, find my best wisdom. And that allows me to look at and view all the options. And we'll review in a minute neurologically why that works. It doesn't mean it's good, right, lovely, or true. It doesn't mean it's fair. But I would like my mind to quit fighting it, to quit sending me all the Fs, to quit shutting me down. And so H learned how to take all these super balls, turn them into boxes, and we just practiced over and over again the picture of what he would look like. And about a year later, he called me from a grocery store. He was able to go to the grocery store. His sister had moved out. He even lost his beloved dog in the middle of all that. But he was in a grocery store feeling quite confident because we had pictured what he would look like in the grocery store. And then he just went off to other stores, and it just was a great story. So that was session 1 if you want to learn more about super balls and just the beginning practice. So we talked him just some basic neurological things. So it feels good to find me a basic brain. We start on the inside with the amygdala. And that's why I call myself, well, my clients called me, I didn't call me, they called me the brain lady, because that's what we talk about in every single session. Because if we can realize that amygdala of ours in the middle of our brain, so if you're listening, just imagine the very deep middle of your brain, 2 amygdalas, 1 on each side. They signal the alert to your body. That's where chemically all the F's come from. Fight, fright, fleas, fright. I always get it mixed up because that's dyslexia. Doesn't like the F words. But anyway, it does all of them. And it's right next to the hippocampus, which replays memory. And in trauma, the setting of the memories gets messed up. And it's actually hard on the tissue to try to make new memories. So we've got on the screen a trauma view where we've got our amygdala that actually gets swollen in trauma, thus the hypervigilance. And the amygdala actually shrinks and can't retain memories as well. And so this outcome-based thinking that we do, studying the neurology that we do, thinking about becoming balanced, is all to heal the brain and the body. And I think it's quite exciting to think that you're actually healing brain tissue. So that was episode 1. If you want to learn more about those fundamentals, go check out episode 1. Episode 2, we switched. Remember, we start every episode of a podcast with quotes people say from the couch. And this one was, my kids grab my scanner the most. My kids grab the scanner the most. So this was a mom of a lot of children in a lot of trauma. They went through the Creek fire a few years ago, been through really, really hard things. And she was frustrated with herself because she could handle the big things, rebuilding their house, moving all the animals, getting everyone set. But the kids doing the little things are what would set her off. So episode 2 is really talking about this idea of the hijack in the brain, when the littlest things set the brain off and what you can do about it. And that's when we started talking a lot about the body. Ooh, put this thing on a scale of 0 to 10. Think of scale of 0 to 10. What number is this thing? And then use your body. Remember, outcome-based thinking, we start with number 1, notice the tension. So if we can notice that tension, now she's got 6 kids. A little hard to keep track of 6 different tensions with 6 different things going on. But she really learned how to do her breathing well, her diaphragmatic breathing, doing the long exhales, we'll talk a lot through these episodes about fanning your fingers. It's basically wherever you feel the tension, move that part of the body. So this morning, right before I came here, I was printing out the worksheets and the printer decided not to work, of course. And I noticed how intently I was frowning. So I just sat and moved myself upside down, eyebrows up, shoulders, to try to figure out how to get my frontal lobe back to solve the problem. And it was because I was sharing screens. So I shut one screen and then I was fine. But it was by talking to my eyebrows and saying, hey, acceptance is I'll get there when I get there. The podcast will work out as they work out. And then my breathing shifted again. Because the fourth step of outcome-based thinking is notice the change in tension. So we can tell, it's kind of a self-test. If we go through those steps on the screen again, and I look at myself with clear acceptance, podcast is going to be just fine, however it turns out. Then number 4 is notice the change in tension. My breathing shifted. I was fine. My problem-solving brain came back. That means the amygdala is calling off the dogs. So that's what we really talked about in episode 2 to this mom. Frustrated herself that the little things are setting herself off, but then reminding her that the brain operates off of habit. If you think of that word habit, we all have a whole series of memories in our hippocampus, and they're stored like by a number. So me and my printer, we have a special relationship. And so my hippocampus in the middle of my brain is remembering I'm trying to get out the door again, and the printer and I are having trouble again. And the hippocampus is now running to all the other times that was a problem to tell the amygdala to crank me up because this has historically been a problem. Remember, though, one of the words for the amygdala is the generalist. It doesn't know the situation. It just knows the hippocampus is telling it, oh, we've been here before this many times. So sometimes we have to use our body, that's what I was telling this mama, to speak back to that amygdala to tell it, I'm not in trouble right now. Because the inside of the brain is designed to detect rattlesnakes. And sometimes in trauma, we've reset what the rattlesnake actually is in our brain, and it actually becomes the little things. And the rattlesnake's a good analogy because the little rattlesnake has a lot of venom in it. A lot. So if we can learn to pay attention to the little things and keep them little, using our body and our breathing and our pictures, then the hippocampus actually heals over time to not register that as danger. So that's what episode 2 is about. So if you want to learn more about that hippocampal processing, then you can go to episode 2. Episode 3, same mom, because she says so many wise things. She said, I need to build a tree of neurons instead of bushes of poison oak. So she lives in the foothills. So here I'm talking to her about her brain is filled with neurons. So if you're off screen, I've got my hand up, holding it up like I'm tree branches with my fingers. These are actually our neurons. There's millions and millions in the brain, and they connect and fire off. And they're at the top of our spinal cord, and then they go like that. We actually can train our neurons how to talk to the other neurons. But she was saying she didn't even have time to get to the tree of neurons because her amygdala was just sending her down the road so quickly, just like a small bush of poison oak. So we were again practicing all the things you can do with your body to tell your brain, hey, I would like to grow new neurons. That's part of the brain healing, is that you're growing new neurons. Another way to think about it is if you've got a tree of neurons, I'm holding up my left hand. These are my not so good habits. Karen has quite a few of them. And I'm learning how to not rely on my anger, eat dark chocolate all the time, I feel hopeless. I'm learning, but there's still some neuronal presence in there. I've got to build new neurons, new pathways to grow and heal so that my mind goes to that one first. So it's a process. So she was just saying she just felt like she wasn't getting there with the new neurons, but it's a reminder. It's called neurogenesis, that we can actually make new neurons. The inside of our brain is called the most plastic area of our brain. I think it's a crazy word because plastic doesn't seem flexible to me. But anyway, I didn't come up with a name. So it's the most plastic. The amygdala can actually heal. If it's swollen and we feel hypervigilant, these steps that we're using in these episodes can actually heal so that it can speak more clearly. So on the screen, that's their amygdala. An important drawing because you can see it's right on top of the brainstem. So when that amygdala says, yo, body, we've got trouble, get out of here, that message goes to the brainstem so very quickly. But neurogenesis says we can heal the pathways in the brain to get that amygdala to talk to the frontal lobe faster to view the bigger picture of how I'm going to be able to handle that. So that was episode 2 and 3. Then we moved on to talking more about that tension scale. So when that amygdala is hyperreactive, how do we heal it? Because sometimes people have been through so much, they are disconnected from how it feels on their outside body. So this was a fireman that came to me, and he didn't really know what tension he felt when he got his kids every other weekend. And the state of tension his kids, he really couldn't tell. So his daughter had learned to get to a really high number on that escalation scale to get his attention. But by then, she just sounded like a cat screaming. So that's why he said the tension scale feels like a cat tail screaming to him, because he only could really hear her if she was very, very distressed. So we just slowed down and taught him about where does the body show these tensions at a lower number, even for a small thing. So we picked on Phil one time about this, about when his daughter was getting dressed. And what number did you feel when it was princess outfit number 3, 6, or 10? What number did you feel?
I was feeling. I'm gonna throw those princess dresses. Just kidding. No, as my little princess, what I love, she can make things so. She's so cute, but she wants that princess dress no matter what. She has to have that princess dress. So, do you give in or do you kind of delay it? But yeah, a little. Simple action that should be a daily routine can become very stressful fast.
And where do you notice that tension first? You need to get out the door, need to get her to school. Where do you notice that?
Yeah,
you're pretty connected to your tension responses.
My shoulders, my neck.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel my breath almost skip a little bit. Like, okay, where is that? I have to pause and take a breath. And it's funny because the brain lady has impacted our household.
Yay.
And so my little princess will go, breathe.
Oh, good, cute little thing.
She'll regulate. She's impressed us several times in front of other people. Like, oh, she can really self-regulate her. She's very recognized. She recognizes her brain. We
should do a whole show with some kids sometime. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? How many kids can we fit in here? Quite a few. To just because they can learn it and they can learn about the brain parts, and it really helps to teach them about this scale number. Ooh, it looks like your number such and such. People ask me, when is the youngest you can see someone?
Yeah.
And I say, whenever they have a concept of their number or how mad they are, then we can work with a little 2-year-old. If we can say, ooh, what number is that, right?
Yeah, I've got to try that one. The number. I know that she does the breath thing, and I do it kind of very sneaky. I don't explain the whole drinking thing, and she's upset out, and she's like, I go, oh, I acknowledge where she's at, and I go, here, want some water, and automatically you see her kind of like center herself with her emotions. Yeah,
we'll get to that episode in a minute where we talked about the swallowing, but she's old enough now to learn about the body parts. So to tell your throat, ooh, I'm upset. Yeah. Help me get unupset. So that glossopharyngeal nerve can work. She's old enough, because if she can say Tyrannosaurus Rex, she can say glossopharyngeal. Big people get stuck on it, but the kids pick it up just like that.
Yeah, she does say some pretty big words, like I can't,
But to teach her,
yeah,
ooh, let's fill those lungs up with air, and then let's blow out the bad air with that long breath. Then you're teaching her that she's controlling her lungs. You can tell her she's getting the bad air out of her, the used up air, better than bad, out of her brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps her connect, right? Because then you're teaching her how to get more balanced with her body. So this works really well. You can really use outcome-based thinking with her too. When you start feeling frustrated as a parent, you can just use those second steps. Ooh, what's going to happen if you stay this mad at daddy? What's going to happen? Yes. And then let that little brain figure that out, you know? It's so much more effective than the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. This didn't happen in my house, but this my generation. I'll spank you until you figure that out. Or give them a good hard spanking and then expect them to stop crying right away. I mean, there was so many twisted ways that was done.
Amen. I remember that I was on the tail end of that generation.
So now we can have the opportunity to teach people what's happening with their brain and body and help them get balanced that way.
May I ask a question? Since we're kind of here
off the top, we're squirreled. Where's my squirrel?
Oh, the squirrel. Oh, yeah.
Oh, somewhere.
You said about the daughter thing. So, just kind of digging a little bit in that when she acknowledges where she's at and she try to regulate and trying to change or manage that, is there an extreme where you can almost teach the wrong thing to suppress it? You know, because I feel like, okay, I'm happy. Wait, I'm not saying I need to be happy. She kind of like goes to the extreme. Like, no, we're expecting her to like, don't be afraid or don't be upset.
Try to keep that word balanced in mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes it's hard with the parent because what you say has to go. Don't go out in the street. At some time has to mean don't go out in the street. But other times you want her to start figuring out what the consequences for things are. And then other times you just don't really care. what shoes she puts on, because you know how all those memes about dad must have dressed the kid today. So teach kids the words, teach them how to be balanced. It really helps to tell them what's going on with you with that apology. Yeah. I know you're good at this, but a lot of parents have a hard time. Hey, dad got really, really upset. I could tell in my shoulders I was really upset, and I really want to move my shoulders right now so that I can hear what you're saying. Right. Wow. So you could be modeling that brain body balance.
Well, that was a good squirrel, but
that was a good squirrel. Yeah, we can't find the squirrel. Oh, well. But it's a good example of this dad didn't get that kind of help when he was a child. So he got disconnected from feeling what his body is. So if you're hearing your things and you're saying, what tension? I don't feel tension.
There's a squirrel right there.
There's the squirrel. I knew he was somewhere. Okay. So what we're after is saying, this dad went through so much trauma and now he's a firefighter. It doesn't really do a lot of good when you're a firefighter to say, oh, my shoulders right now are a little tense. You want me to go up on that 12th floor, right? So sometimes professions can block our tensions, our acknowledging of tensions in our body, but that can heal. So we started from the the very smallest number. Hey, I can tell in your eyebrows because I like to study people and I can invite them to learn from their tension. I have a lot of fun in marital counseling when I meet with them one at a time, say, you know how your wife does that thing where she kind of goes like that with your shoulder? And he's like, that's what she does. I said, I know. What number do you think she's at? That means she's getting pretty close to the 8 and you're being dismissed and what you say is not being heard. So pay attention because then you have to handle your own tension. So sometimes I hand people clues about their own state of tension, because trauma does disconnect it. So if you want to learn more about that, episode 4. Episode 5 is a really good one for me. My complaints have conversations with themselves. My complaints have conversations with themselves. This was a homeschooling mom who found herself doing dishes one day and having whole conversation with yourself. Well, so-and-so hasn't done the dishes for 5 days. I know. Whole conversations with a committee in her head. And so-and-so didn't do this yesterday. And so-and-so is behind on her homework. And do you think anybody's going to help me with dishes? And she just had this whole conversation with complaint in her mind. So if you find yourself a complainer, then you can use the outcome-based thinking to paint a different picture and find the facts. So you take the complaint. The fact is so-and-so didn't do the dishes this morning. Turn that into a fact statement. Correct. They did not do the dishes this morning. But am I fine doing the dishes? Are they off doing homework? Should I have them come do it? It allows you, when you turn off the complaint, to find your source of wisdom. which is your frontal lobe balance. So another helpful thing to know about complaint is notice what your phrases are. In my complicated home right now, in somebody who's hard of hearing, I'll say good morning and he won't hear me. So I'll say good morning again and he'll say, I can't hear you. Third statement of the day, I'm off on complaint. Well, of course you can't hear me. I can feel my little head going like this. I have to go back to the fact is he's not hearing things this morning and then figure out how I'm going to handle that. So find your complaint phrases. So Mr. Phil, what's the complaint? You got one already. Go ahead.
Well, I'm complaining about the complaining. That's so easy because you said the hearing. I'm the one with the hearing issue a lot of times. Or if I'm trying to get my wife's attention, she is in the middle of something. So maybe she can't come to me right away or acknowledge what I'm saying. So we do this thing like repeat yourself. But the time you repeat yourself the second and third time, tone has already adjusted.
Tone has adjusted and the warning signals are going off.
The receiver of that is like, whoa, what? And so that wall could go to defense and you become offensive.
And it's complicated in hearing because I'm just saying good morning a little louder. I'm doing fine. I'm looking forward to the day. And he's like, you don't have to yell at me. And then I'm off on that. You don't have to yell at me. Because complaint is right next to snark in my head. They're very close cousins. So just reframe it as the fact is. I don't need to take the whole day. I don't need to doomsday about how bad the whole day is going to be. Right? Remember, our amygdala scans for danger, and its job is going to say, is this whole day going to be this way? I don't need to do that. I just need to be kind, answer back, proceed to the day. So catch your complaint. So we have only gotten through episodes 1 through 5 on our review. We didn't even get to 10, but I think that's okay.
It's all right.
So let's just summarize what we talked about, because there's fundamentals to outcome-based thinking that are really helpful. And that's those 4 steps. And we just repeat them for everything, whether it's a small thing or a very big thing. Had a big health incident in our house 2 weeks ago, and I used the outcome-based thinking to handle that because I had a crisis client and a crisis at home. And I used those 4 steps to put things in boxes and figure out how to get things handled and tell my brain I'm not in danger. It's inconvenient, but I can do all these things. Get your breathing going. We're going to talk a lot more about the body in future episodes. You'll hear it a lot. Move your shoulders. Get your exhale going. Do that long, slow blow. You blow in like a birthday candle and blow out like you're just blowing the birthday candles out. A good test for trauma is if you take a breath in and it comes out like a poof, then you're filled with cortisol. And all that means is put your hands flat on your chest. Take a little bit of a longer inhale and try a little bit of a longer exhale. Okay, good. There you made it to 4 seconds. So try it again. Try to get to 6 and 6. You want to get to where you can exhale as long as you can. And this is why singing is helpful, because it helps you empty out those lungs. We'll talk about trauma in another episode. But keep using your body to be your guide of what your brain is doing. The body shows it 5 to 8 seconds before the brain catches up. Phil, when you're walking with your baby girl on the street, do you do a strategic analysis if she walks out in the street in front of the car, or do you simply grab her?
I examine the atmosphere and kind of look at and
barometric pressure.
No, everything's like, Mia.
It's just in milliseconds, right? Because you have enough memory of that's your job is to protect her. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to know the brain is good at, but your body knew it before your brain did. Amen. And then you have the afterburn chemicals, where a lot of parents do the mistake of getting after the kid harshly, because now they have the afterburn chemicals of how dangerous it really was, what could have really happened.
And they're crying because you snapped at them, but really
trying to protect them. Yes.
You hug them. I love you. I would just worry about for your safety.
Yes. Let's look at that again, what we're going to do next time. And then you may feel wobbly for 20 minutes. If it's a big trauma, 24 hours for those chemicals to come out of you.
True.
So true. So know that when you have a big visceral dump like that.
Wow.
So we talked about boxes, how to put things in boxes. We'll talk a lot more about that in future episodes, because then you can help your brain know you are partnering up with it in a new way. You're letting your brain tissue know you would like to have a new habit. So that was a review. Didn't get as far as we wanted just because we're a little interesting around here.
Hey, great job and congratulations. Over 13,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
And your book is doing well. Brain Prayers, right? We got to make sure we push that.
That's a book I wrote, so you can learn about how to learn about the brain if you're a person of faith, how to actually pray for brain parts for yourself and for others. Like you can actually pray the amygdala prayers for Mia and the healing of her amygdala in the future, because our God is not limited by our time. So if you want to learn how to do it or invite someone else to learn how to brain prayers, there's 2 versions on Amazon. There's the black copy, which is a big long version, or there's this shorter one people asked for, the stained glass version. So those are both available. We would love to hear from you, what you're thinking about these. If you can comment on YouTube, it lets them know you're paying attention, because we would like them to know we're amazing, because we know we are, but they don't yet. So make your comments, do your like, subscribe, forward, all those things you know how to do, because we are very excited you're here. And we are doing this so that you can heal from what you've been through and have a better, brighter future. So sit up straight, do your exhale, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Wood.
Good ad.